The fluorescent lights of the city hospital's 6th floor hummed a lonely, eternal song. For Leo, they were the sun and moon of his world, a world defined by the sterile scent of antiseptic and the quiet, rhythmic beeping of his mother's heart monitor. He was a sculpture of quiet endurance, carved from the cheap clay of thrift store clothes and student loans. His life was a precarious balancing act: morning lectures, afternoon shifts at the campus library, and every evening, here, in room 609. His mother, once a vibrant woman with a laugh that could fill a room, was now a fragile silhouette against the starched white sheets, her fight against a relentless illness measured in IV drips and whispered encouragements. The only spark of light in this monochrome existence was her. Her name was Alara, and she was the night shift nurse. She had eyes the color of a twilight sky, a calm that felt like a physical bomb, and a smile that could make Leo forget, for a fleeting second, the crushing weight of his reality. She was kindness incarnate. The way she adjusted his mother's pillows with a gentle efficiency, the way her voice softened when she explained a new medication. To Leo, she was an angel in scrubs. Tonight, the weight felt heavier than usual. The upcoming fall formal, a distant, glittering event in the world of his more privileged peers, was a constant reminder of everything he wasn't, everything he couldn't have. A flyer for the dance, tattered and torn, was pinned to the student union board he passed every day. It taunted him. His mother, her voice a thin whisper, broke the silence. "You're going, Leo." He looked up from his textbook, feigning confusion. "Going where?" "The dance. I saw the flyer in your bag." She offered a weak, knowing smile. "You're 20. You should be living, not just surviving in this room with your sick mother." "Mom, don't." "No," she insisted, her hand finding his, her grip surprisingly firm. "I want to hear about something beautiful. I want to picture you in a nice suit, dancing. Promise me you'll ask someone." His heart hammered against his ribs. Ask who? The girls in his classes lived in a different universe, one of weekend getaways and designer labels. His gaze drifted to the door as it swung open. Alara entered, her movements fluid and sure. "Time for your vitals, Sarah," she said, her voice a melody. As she worked, Leo watched, his mother's words echoing in his ears. "Promise me." In a surge of foolish, desperate courage, born from love for his mother and a secret, aching hope, he spoke. "Alara." She finished noting the chart and looked at him, her head tilted. "Yes, Leo." He swallowed, the words sticking in his throat. "I know this is highly unprofessional and probably the most ridiculous thing you'll hear all night." He took a shaky breath. "But there's this university dance next Saturday. And I was wondering, would you be my date?" The room fell silent, save for the steady beep, beep, beep. Alara's pen stilled. A series of emotions flickered across her face: surprise, confusion, and something else, something unreadable. He braced for the gentle, humiliating letdown. But it didn't come. Instead, a slow, genuine smile spread across her lips, touching her eyes. "I'd love to, Leo." He felt lightheaded. "Really, really," she confirmed. "It sounds lovely." For the first time in years, a genuine, unburdened joy exploded in Leo's chest. He was floating. He gave her the details, his voice giddy, and she listened, that soft smile never leaving her face. When her shift ended, Alara walked out of the hospital's automatic doors, the cool night air a shock after the building's recycled warmth. She pulled a key fob from her pocket and pressed a button. Across the street, the parking lights of a sleek, obsidian Aston Martin Valkyrie flickered in response. She slid into the driver's seat, the scent of rich leather enveloping her. Picking up her phone, she dialed a number. A crisp, formal voice answered. "Ms. Thorne, is everything all right?" "It's fine, Charles," she said, starting the engine, its low growl a stark contrast to her gentle nurse's demeanor. "I'll be home in 20. And cancel my meeting with the board of directors for next Saturday evening." "Cancel, Ms. Thorne? That's the quarterly strategic review. Your father." "I'm aware," she interrupted, a wistful smile playing on her lips as she thought of Leo's hopeful, nervous face. "Something infinitely more important has come up." The night of the dance arrived. Leo stood in front of the cracked mirror in his studio apartment, adjusting the tie of a rented suit that smelled faintly of mothballs. He had sold a stack of his prized first-edition books to afford it, and the tarnished silver boutonniere. It was worth it, every penny. He arrived at the Grand Hotel where the dance was being held, a palace of crystal and champagne where he felt like an imposter. He waited by the entrance, his palms sweating, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. What if she didn't come? What if it had all been a cruel joke, a moment of pity she'd since regretted? Then he saw her. Alara was walking towards him, and the world stopped. She wasn't in scrubs, but in a dress of midnight blue silk that seemed to drink the light, its simplicity more stunning than any gaudy gown in the room. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She was breathtaking. "Leo," she said, her smile erasing all his doubts. "You look very handsome." He shook his head, lost for words. Wow." He offered his arm, and she took it. For a few blissful hours, Leo was not the poor scholarship student. He was just a boy, dancing with the most beautiful girl in the world. They talked and laughed. He told her about his dreams of being an architect, of building things that lasted. She listened, truly listened, her eyes never leaving his. He felt seen, not for his circumstances, but for his soul. "Can I get you a drink?" he asked during a slow song, determined to play the part of a proper date. "Just some water, thank you," she said. He made his way to the lavish punch bowl, feeling a surge of pride. He could do this. He could give her a perfect night. As he turned, a crystal champagne flute in each hand, he bumped hard into a broad-shouldered man in an impeccably tailored tuxedo. The flutes shattered on the marble floor, the sound a gunshot in the bubble of their happiness. "Watch it, kid," the man sneered, brushing imaginary lint from his sleeve. He was Preston Thorne III, the heir to the Thorne global empire and the university's most notorious legacy student. His eyes, cold and arrogant, flickered past Leo and landed on Alara. His expression shifted from irritation to stunned disbelief. "Alara," Preston's voice cut through the music. "What in God's name are you doing here with him?" He gestured dismissively at Leo, at his rented suit. Leo felt a hot flush of humiliation. "Back off, Preston." Preston ignored him, stepping closer to Alara. "Does your father know you're slumming it at a university dance with one of the charity cases?" The words, "charity case," hung in the air, sharp and cruel. Leo's world began to tilt. Alara's calm facade cracked. "Preston, that's enough. Enough." Preston laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. He turned to Leo, a cruel smirk twisting his lips. "You really have no idea, do you? You think you scored a date with a nurse?" He leaned in, his voice a venomous whisper meant only for them, but it echoed in the sudden silence that had fallen around them. "This is Alara Thorne, as in, Thorne Global. Her father isn't a doctor, you idiot. He owns the hospital. He owns half this city." The punch bowl, the glittering lights, Alara's beautiful face, everything blurred into a nauseating swirl. Thorne. The name was on the business school building, on the hospital wing, on the lips of every finance major as a deity. The pieces clicked into a devastating mosaic. Her unexpected grace, her strange hours, the way she carried herself with an innate authority he'd mistaken for professional competence. He looked at Alara, his eyes pleading for a denial, for her to laugh it off as a sick joke. But she just looked back at him, her expression a torrent of guilt. "And shame." "Leo," she whispered, her voice breaking. That single, unspoken confirmation was a physical blow. The beautiful, fragile dream he'd been living shattered, cutting him to the bone. He wasn't her date, he was her secret, her rebellion, her walk on the wild side. A pet project for a bored billionaire's daughter. Without a word, he turned and walked away, pushing through the crowd of staring, pitying faces. "Leo, wait," Alara called after him, her voice desperate. He didn't stop. He ran out of the ballroom, through the opulent lobby, and into the cold, indifferent night. The rented suit felt like a fool's costume. He ripped the boutonniere from his lapel and threw it into the gutter. He ended up back at the hospital, drawn by a force he didn't understand. He walked into room 609, his shoulders slumped, the scent of champagne and expensive perfume still clinging to him, a cruel mockery. His mother was awake. She took one look at his shattered face, at the emptiness in his eyes, and her own filled with tears. "Oh, my boy," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What happened?" He couldn't speak. He just collapsed into the chair beside her bed, burying his face in the sterile sheets, his body shaking with silent, gut-wrenching sobs. He had gambled his last shred of pride on a fantasy, and he had lost everything. His mother stroked his hair, her heart breaking for him. After a long while, when his sobs had subsided into ragged breaths, she spoke, her voice barely audible. "Leo," she said. He looked up, his vision blurred. Her face was pale, her eyes full of a profound, aching love. "The nurse, Alara," she began, her words measured and heavy. She came to see me yesterday. After her shift. She paused, gathering her strength. She sat right where you are now. She told me how much you'd come to mean to her. She said your kindness, your strength, it was the most real thing she'd ever known. Leo stared, uncomprehending. His mother took a deep, shaky breath. She wasn't just a nurse assigned to me, Leo. A few weeks ago, when my condition worsened, our insurance, it was maxed out. The hospital was talking about transferring me to a different facility. A cold dread began to creep up Leo's spine. What are you talking about? Tears streamed freely down his mother's cheeks now. Alara intervened. She used her authority, her name, she made sure I stayed. She personally covered the cost of the new specialist, the experimental treatment. She told me she did it because she'd fallen in love with the son who visited his mother every single night, who never gave up hope. The world stopped. The humiliation, the anger, the betrayal, it all crumbled, replaced by a seismic, earth-shattering understanding. She hadn't been slumming it. She hadn't been playing a game. She had been trying to protect him, to shoulder a part of his burden in the only way she knew how, terrified that the truth of her wealth would build a wall between them. He had been so blinded by his own pride and the public shame that he had mistaken her greatest act of love for her greatest deception. The door to the room creaked open softly. Alara stood there. She still wore the beautiful midnight blue dress, but her face was streaked with tears, her composure completely gone. In her hand, she clutched the tarnished silver boutonniere he had thrown away. She didn't move, just stood in the doorway, her magnificent, heartbreaking lie laid bare between them, waiting for a verdict that would shatter her world or piece it back together. I'm so sorry, Leo, she whispered, her voice raw with a pain that mirrored his own. I was just so afraid of losing you.